Hello, happy people, and welcome to your Moment of Zed, the YouTube channel dedicated to the most beautiful car in the world, the BMW Z3, or as the folks in Shrewsbury call it, the Z3. I'm Mark, and today we're going to do a fairly simple maintenance item. We're going to replace the spark plugs on my 1.9 liter M44 engine. It's a little bit more complex than I thought as far as which spark plug to choose, but we'll get into that a little bit. I'll give you a bunch of links to help you out if you're still confused. I don't think I am anymore, but we also don't have any Zeds of the Week this week, so if you'd like to see your car on Zed of the Week, please follow the easy instructions in the description below. I also don't have any special features this week either. Do have one thing to say about the job I did 2 weeks ago, which were the trunk struts. I felt that the two new ones I used were opening the trunk a little too strong, so I went back in, took one out, put one of the old ones back in, and I got the resistance and the spring I wanted. So I've got another one for 10 years down the road when it blows out again. So that's what I did, and I've chatted with a few other people who have done the same thing, and it seems to work pretty well. So let's get to those spark plugs. Okay, so here's what we're going to use for this job. A 3/8 drive ratchet, a 3/8 extension, the 5/8 spark plug socket. I had to buy a new one. My 30-year-old one was worn out. There's a rubber ring inside the old ones that would hold the spark plug when you pulled it out and put it back in. These new ones have a magnet, and I'm not sure I like it as much, but that's what AutoZone had. Also have some dielectric grease, and we'll show you where to put that. And then as far as the spark plug, I went with the NGK BKR 6EK 2288. Here's the reason why. Number one, it is recommended by NGK. Number two, it's recommended in your owner's manual. Those are the two main reasons. Now, this is a dual electrode spark plug, so I've put a link in the description to why you would go with dual electrode as opposed to single electrode. They also make 4 electrode spark plugs. Supposedly, these don't have to be gapped, but we're going to check the gap on those. There are iridium plugs that you can use and that other people have used. NGK makes one that seems to be pretty popular. And there's some reasons I didn't go with that anyways. I'm being a little conservative. I went with the OEM recommended original equipment plug. There's also a Bosch plug that is OE recommended. I'm sure either one of those would be just fine. And you'll see the ones that I'm replacing are not even close, I don't think, to the quality of these. Anyways, I put a bunch of links in the description. You can go down that rabbit hole just to keep things a little shorter. This is what I'm using. That is why. And off we go. Ooh, but one thing before we go off. If you're using something different, please put that in the comments and tell us why and tell us how happy or unhappy you are with your choice. I'd be interested to hear what other people are doing as far as spark plugs go. As with anything Z3, or really any car for that matter, there's a lot of opinions out there, and I'd certainly be interested to get yours. So hit that comment button and tell us all about it. Okay, so step one, your spark plugs live under that cover. So I'm going to open them up. You can use a flat blade screwdriver, a large one. I just use a coin, actually. And turn those a quarter turn. And then the back of this comes right up, but the front's kind of got a little hook on it. And I just kind of wiggle it until it pops loose. And you can see that. Actually, the back has one too, but mine doesn't really lock in. And now we are where we need to be. We can see the wires run into the plugs. And we can get started. Okay, and before I get to any of the mechanical stuff, I'm going to clean out the plug well using a vacuum. You could use canned air or a compressor too, but I just don't want to take a chance on any debris that could be in here finding its way into the plug hole and then of course the cylinder head. So the easy way to finish that and not worry about that is to clean it up. Okay, I know for a fact that I can hand pull this first one, and I'm just going to work from the front and back so I don't lose my place. However, BMW includes this handy tool which can give you a little bit more leverage, and you can go ahead and just lift straight up. And there is a spark plug boot, and it came up without falling apart. Mine still seem to be in pretty good condition. I'm not going to change them today. If it ain't broke, don't fix it at this point. But again, the spark plugs I know have been in the car my entire ownership period, which is 30,000 plus miles. I really don't know when they were installed. BMW calls for a spark plug change at inspection 2. It's an inspection 2 maintenance item. And of course, the mileage, you know, that depends. It's that system that we've talked about in the past where they're not giving you a mileage. But anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so you can see the top of the spark plug here and the spark plug well, and doesn't look particularly dirty. Probably the best thing to do would be get some canned air and blow the well out. I'm gonna try and vacuum it. I actually already pulled this plug earlier in the week, so I know it's not particularly messy, but again, you wanna clean out that well also, again, just to make sure nothing falls into your cylinder head. Okay, time to pull out the old plug. I have my 5/8 plug socket on the extension, 3/8 ratchet, and gently lower it in till it locks on. Obviously counterclockwise, and there it goes. And the magnet holds the old one in so I can pull it right out of the well. Very nice. Now the plugs that were in this are Autolite 3923, and I'll tell you what, my car ran perfectly fine with these. They look like they're in pretty good condition. Threads are a little bit dirty. It might be hard to see, but it kind of looks like the center electrode is wearing a little bit, but the gap still looks okay. And again, I got good use out of these, and the car was still running fine. I looked these up. These are $3 spark plugs. So just goes to show you we're not running racing cars, but I do want to upgrade back to OEM. I don't want to use this type again, although I probably could. Okay, so let's take a look at the new NGKs and talk about plug gap. Now the plugs come shipped with this protective sleeve that is supposed to protect the pre-gapped spark plug. Now the gap on this is supposed to be 0.035, and NGK on their website specifically says do not gap multi-ground plugs. And the reality of it is the way these are, and they are gapped next to the side of the center electrode, makes it kind of difficult. There's not as much wiggle room. Of course, if you're going to gap a plug, you adjust the ground electrodes. We have two ground electrodes. Now if I take a feeler gauge and attempt to, this is 0.35, attempt to put it in here, I could wiggle that in, but I'm worried about damaging the side of the center electrode. It is, if it's not 0.035, it's very close. Plus that, and I don't know how well you could see that, but that electrode, the ground electrodes, are also curved. So it kind of makes it even harder if you wanted to gap it. Now you could use a wire gap tool, and that's what's recommended if you're like single ground electrode iridium plugs. But again, these are not supposed to be gapped. I'm going to leave them alone. I think the 0.035 gap is pretty close from what I can tell, so I'm going to leave them like this. Before I put these in also, now I know these are OEM, so I'm not worried about them, but if you were putting in a spark plug that's not OEM, you want to check the length of the spark plug that's actually in the cylinder head against the ones you're pulling out. If you have a longer one, you could take a chance on the piston hitting it and really damaging your engine. So obviously these are exactly the same, and that is just fine. I know that sounds dumb, but I would definitely take a look if you're not using the OEM part like I am. Even if you are, just double check. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do before I put the spark plug in, the new one in, is to give the insulator, the porcelain insulator, a light coat of dielectric grease. Very light coat using a Q-tip. If this thing could focus, thank you. Again, I'm just going to do it around the base. What that's going to do is going to keep moisture out, and it's going to provide an insulator against possible voltage leakage, although really it's more for the moisture. I'm also going to give a light coat of the same dielectric grease to the inside of the end of the plug boot, and then we're kind of double protected. Again, just a light coat using this dielectric grease. What it also will do will prevent, if you start getting drying of your plug boot, it'll prevent it from breaking when you try and pull these out the next time. So lubricate that for your next plug change, and that's the reason we're doing that. Okay, next I'm going to take just the extension and the spark plug wrench, and I'm going to try, this is magnetic, so it's going to want to grab that tip, and of course it will, but then I'll just get it past there, and what I'm trying to do is not get that dielectric grease everywhere. So there we go, that's in, and didn't make a big mess. I'm going to try and be gentle with this. You'll have to excuse me if my hands get in the way, but I just have the spark plug again on the extension and the socket, and I'm going to gently place it into the plug well, and I don't want to bang up the electrode, and I want to kind of feel my way into that spark plug hole and then start turning, and I don't want to cross thread, and if you feel any resistance, stop and try again. You don't want to cross thread a steel spark plug threads into an aluminum head. Now as far as anti-seize, which some people put on the spark plugs, NGK says you don't need to do it. NGK comes with a coating on the threads. It's supposed to handle that, and there, mine's hand tight now, and I'm just going to leave that. But if you decide you don't trust NGK or whoever you're using, and you put anti-seize, be careful, because that's going to reduce the amount of torque you're going to put on the spark plug, and we'll talk about torque in a second. Now, as far as torque settings go, here's the recommendations. NGK says 18 to 21. The internet says 17. If you don't have a torque wrench, and I borrowed a clicker from my friend Gary, thank you, go hand tight plus a half to 2/3. Again, that's assuming you don't use the anti-seize. And there it goes. We have clicked over. So 18 is what I set mine to. I feel that 21 is going to be too much, and kind of feels like I went further than the non-torque wrench recommendation, but there we have it. Didn't break anything, so we're all set. All I'm going to do now is put the plug wire back on. Hopefully you can see I did coat it with some dielectric grease, and I want to try and go very centered. I don't want to get that dielectric grease on the end of the spark plug where it actually makes contact, because that's an insulator. So simply set it down, click it on, and I'll worry about tucking wires back in later, because I have to do that 3 more times, and there you have it. So folks, there you have it. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, pretty inexpensive, something you can easily do in an hour on a weekend. If you found this content valuable, as always, please crush that like button. And until next time, remember, friends don't let friends drive boring.